thank you. So this is the first time I talk about this very interesting topic in English, and it's based on right now 10 years of experience on doing business either purely on Bitcoin or crypto, or implementing crypto in different kinds of businesses. This is not only about doing like a Bitcoin company that provides services in this field. We've been using it in IT security companies and other types of companies as well. So it's all started by this place, which is called Collateralized. Many people have mentioned it before. It started 10 years ago, and it started as an experiment because we were talking about this new Bitcoin thing, and it was quite interesting because other co-founders of this place said, "Okay, you're talking about this new parallel money, so let's see if it actually works. You know, geeky talk and sending coins back and forth is fun, but let's see if you can actually use it as money somewhere." So actually 10 years ago, many of you maybe were not part of Bitcoin back then. I remember that many people were actually paying for coffee with Electrum by using their webcam and laptop and scanning the QR codes at the terminal, because there were not even mobile wallets or good enough mobile wallets back then. So many people were just or even typing the address, the hex out the address. So this place has a cafeteria, co-working space, institute, hackerspace, and many other parts. Back then it also had a 3D printing shop, and we wanted to see if we can use Bitcoin as the only currency. So it's not, you know, take payment from customer, change it to fiat, and then kind of pretend that we are Bitcoin only, but everything, salaries are accounted for in Bitcoin and so on. I'm a co-founder of this place, but I don't live in Prague, so I decided to do another experiment, and this was Paralelnapolis in Bratislava, which we opened in 2018 after fundraising during the bull market and seeing everything crash in front of our eyes, and this is one of the things that is kind of a limiting belief of people, that you cannot actually run a business on something as volatile as Bitcoin. So I want to say that this definitely is possible. Many entrepreneurs, when I talk to them, they are in the first part of this meme format, which is I accept fiat, and you know, Bitcoin is too volatile. I don't want to deal with it. It's too difficult. Then, if you say, okay, but there are these people who want to pay with Bitcoin. You know, they're probably rich, and maybe they don't want to buy Lambo. Maybe they want to buy something from you. And if you accept their favorite currency, they will come to you and not to your competition. Many entrepreneurs will ask the wrong question. Okay, so how many of my existing customers actually want to pay with Bitcoin? It's a wrong question, because you should be asking how many of customers who would not buy from me but from my competition, how many of them will come to my business just because I accept Bitcoin? So it's actually about getting new customers that would otherwise not use your products or services. Then the next step is, okay, you want to be cool. Many restaurants, many cafeterias said, okay, I'll introduce this Bitcoin payment option. I organize Bitcoin meetups, then many people will come to my place, eat a lot, drink a lot of beer, and then I'll get my business and kind of improve the image of the company. So I think the right approach, which is not not very common, is to use Bitcoin to gain access to this new parallel economy and kind of integrate it and also use it as a payment method, use it internally in the company as a reserve and so on. So I will show you what you can do besides accepting Bitcoin. I think that's not the most interesting part of what you can do. When you talk to usually wannabe entrepreneurs, but also some entrepreneurs, you often hear things like, "Oh, this is not possible. You cannot run a business on something volatile. It's not possible." So, just if you have this kind of belief that this can be done, just for the purpose of this talk, try to replace it with, "I don't know how I would do it yet or solve it yet." So it's quite often that these crypto skeptics, they read one article about Bitcoin and hundreds of entrepreneurs that are using Bitcoin daily are overseeing something. They're doing something that is not possible according to their beliefs. So that they're overlooking some intractable problem. I think it's not the case, and these entrepreneurs just found a way how to interact and use this in their business. So the most common question is volatility versus stability. Okay, so if I accept this payment, won't it crash tomorrow to whatever 50% or 10% or zero, even if they read Taleb's black paper and believe it. Then the next question is, how do I do accounting? My accountant doesn't know how to do it. Many people would say, I don't want to do anything. So I want to say that cryptocurrencies in general are companies, including large companies that manage hundreds of millions and even billions of dollars. Some people use only cryptocurrencies, and also Bitcoin is 14 plus years old, and it has a huge community of entrepreneurs, service providers, developers, lawyers, accountants. They're working to make it usable, and you can hire them. So if you don't know how to do accounting, just hire an accountant that knows how to do it. So it's not an accountant, but it's something that's like hundreds. Starts by the volatility myth. Well, it's not a myth, but I want to say that we are all dealing with volatility, even if we don't think that we are. And the reason is the illusion of something. So our prices was, I don't know, maybe half the price that is today. Then it doubled. We had a short energy crisis. If you were exposed to the spot price of energy, and entrepreneurs often were, then the price was crazy. I wanted to buy a car. I had to wait for it for 1 year because there were shortages, and that means that prices of cars that were available right now also almost doubled in some cases. So even if you think in like euros as a stable unit of account, prices are not stable, and they shouldn't be, because they they are an information system, and they tell you about the balance of supply and demand. So they reflect the changes in scarcity, and that is okay. So especially entrepreneurs, we all speculate on the purchasing power of our unit of account. So we don't live in a stable world anymore, and we just don't know it and don't believe it. So I think every business plan needs to take into consideration the inherent instability and volatility of prices. That's just how markets work. So I'll give you a quick example. So I have done this with Slovak numbers because I know where to find the numbers. So let's say I want to buy a house in a nice area for 1 million euros. But then I say, oh, then I think, oh, delay my consumption, maybe I will do business, so do a little bit more. So I invest into my own business, and that's the essence of capitalism. Capital to produce something more. So let's say in the 1st January 2021, I use 2021 because we have all that period. Show you why it's interesting. I invested 1 million euros in the business. Now, at the end of the year, I have 1.2 million euros. Wow, one worked. Let's say the government tells us that the official inflation CPI for 2021 in the euro area is 9.25%. Very good. The margin, like many businesses, 20% margin is quite nice. Of course, it's not so nice after taxes, so I have to account for taxes. 50,000 income tax, and I think a little bit about 1,000 in income tax. Out of the profit, I have a little less than 140,000 left. Now let's account for inflation. So if I count the official inflation, European Central Bank would have bought for me that's the effect of rising prices. So after paying taxes, I'm only 40,000 in real profit, according to the So I look at the prices of housing in Bratislava, that's the growth of prices, and we can see that the CPI is the blue line down here, and what I actually want to buy is this line, and this is the average for Slovakia. So the CPI accounts for the rise in real estate prices, but not in the real estate that I want to buy. It takes into account some kind of general, small city, village, and so on. So if I buy the house, my personal inflation number or rise in prices is 2. So a house that €1 million in January is not after a year of working, we still more compared to what we had when we started business, exposed to all the risk, paid all the taxes. What I want to say is that account, but the prices in official unit of account are not at all, and then there's bullshit because we don't buy what is in the basket. In this case, purchase this and we have something such as Bitcoin also purchasing power of the Bitcoin. But if we account official unit account. It's a myth. The bad news doesn't stop here because we accounted for business risk. Risk is an expense, like just it's very hard. This expense is very hard to calculate. We cannot quantify it. We can't put it into expenses and deduct it from taxes and so on. But if you want to do long-term business, you should account for business risk, and you should create some kind of reserves. So most things in business are downside risks. That means, people don't pay invoices. There's inflation, which is a certain loss of purchasing power. And the table is not seen, but there is the top 20 inflation in the last few years. There's a certain decrease in demand, which can be artificial. We have seen it during the pandemic, where people were locked down, and that means they didn't go out for coffee, for example. You can that your sales or marketing is not working, suppliers do not keep up or have changed price, customers return the product. So basically what I'm trying to say, what about the upside risk? So very upside risk. You are able to produce and sell with profit. So both produce and sell they need to be in balance. So entrepreneurship is about taking risks and making sure that the upside risks are higher than the downside risks, basically. You need to engineer these pleasant surprises or the upside risk. So, for example, someone who sits behind a computer all day playing Minesweeper will certainly not find a life partner because kind of doesn't work this way. So you need to expose yourself to the upside risk. And I believe that entrepreneurship is a form of something they call serendipity engineering. So it's an art as much as a science. Many people say, okay, they go to Excel, they write a business plan. Okay, these will be my expenses. This is how much I will put to marketing. This is the cost of the product. This is my margin, and this is how much profit I will make. It's a very nice Excel. I have never seen it to work and any time in history. So we are in this kind of volatile environment if we are entrepreneurs. So if you are an employee, you can do this. Okay, this is my salary. This is the cost of my mortgage. So if I spend this much for food and other things, then I'm in profit and I can save. You can do it easily if you're an employee. But if you're an entrepreneur, this is not how it works. It's constant tinkering, discovery, and so on. So entrepreneurs experiment, and we try to allow good things. Nothing is guaranteed. When it comes to Bitcoin, they want certainty. They want to say, "Oh, so I need to make sure that this doesn't crash." So how do we actually use it? I have several strategies. I will underlined, and let's go straight to it. So I think businesses at some point need some kind of financial reserve, or they should build a fund for future capital investments, and that's one of the ways how you can expose yourself to pleasant surprises. For example, we had one non-profit in Bratislava, which is not Paralelní polis, and it was accepting Bitcoin for drinks. And a few years ago, they said, "Oh, who has the private key for the QR code on the wall?" And we realized that okay, there is quite enough money and That means we have money to pay for rent and we don't have to close our organization. So that's the exposure. So basically what they've been doing is okay, drinks, nothing too important. We will just keep this Bitcoin, just save and see what will happen. Another example is my company, which was paid by a customer in BTC. I forgot about it. Of course, the accountants didn't forget about it, but me as an entrepreneur, I look at the balance of the bank account and see what's happening. So during the COVID crisis, I would say, we have found these Bitcoins and we didn't have to either go bankrupt or put more money in the business. So many companies are doing this. I don't particularly like all of them, but especially Proton is interesting. They said that the responsible financial classification requires holding some assets outside of the traditional government-controlled banking system. That's why Proton will continue to hodl a significant proportion of our reserves in Bitcoin to safeguard our independence. Yesterday I have heard a story about the tax office freezing someone's accounts, and it's not fun, and they still cannot freeze your Bitcoin account. So if you need like a reserve for a rainy day, I suggest putting it in Bitcoin might be a good idea. So how do you tame volatility? So in Paralelní, as I said, we only use cryptocurrencies. We don't even hedge it in any way. And the way that we deal with volatility are two strategies. For operational expenses, that is payment of employees, whatever, coffee beans, rent, and so on, what we do is we have very short accounting intervals. So basically, when you have baristas in cafeteria, for example, they don't get paid every month. During very high volatility, we even paid the salaries every day. So they had a shift, and in the evening they received their crypto, and it was up to them to deal with the volatility. So intraday volatility, you are making coffees, people are paying you in Bitcoin, and then part of that income is used to pay the employee. And if you do it right away, Bitcoin doesn't have too much time to do crazy things. So volatility during the day is quite low. So this is how you can tame it. So we do exactly opposite many entrepreneurs do. Many entrepreneurs, they get invoice that is due in 30 days and they pay it on day 29, sometimes 45, sometimes never. We try to pay it as soon as we receive it, and then we're not. Capital expenses, we do exactly the opposite. We're saving part of the income into this future capital expenditures, and we try to spend it only when Bitcoin is up. That means, for example, we know that sometimes in the future we would like a new coffee machine. We know how much it costs, but we can delay the consumption based on the current price of Bitcoin. So basically, on input, when we are receiving the coins, we are dollar because people are paying Bitcoin. Sometimes the price is up, sometimes it's down, but it averages out. And then we made a capital investment when the price of Bitcoin is, let's say, percent. Of the capital fund. So what we do is we say, okay, we want 30% discount on capital. We can achieve that. We are going to wait for an unpredictable amount of time, and we can our costs on capital. What if, of course, there are strategies. What if you can't do that? So if we are in a bear market, or if we need to, like if the coffee machine breaks down today and we need to spend that money today, what we do is we don't actually sell the Bitcoin, we use it just as collateral for a loan. It has several very interesting advantages. First of all, you don't pay any taxes because you're not selling Bitcoin, so you don't have any capital gain. So I think the best use case for Bitcoin is as a collateral. You always hold, you are just borrowing fiat. That has additional advantage that you are shorting fiat, and we are certain that fiat is inflating, so we want to be on the short side. So that's what we did with Paranapolis in Bratislava. We raised funds in 2017, then it crashed to 30% or something like that. It was like 20,000 at the peak and went down to whatever, 6. But we wanted to build a place. We were paying rent and we wanted to physically construct the place. So at first we were just asking around in the community, would you lend us money if we put in Bitcoin as a collateral? We put it in a multisig and got some fiat and could start building the place. Then there are, of course, many services and many options how you can actually do it. I teach people how to do it in a course and in a book, but basically you have at least these options. You just find someone to lend you and escrow the collateral. That's the easiest. You can borrow through DeFi. And then withdraw through an exchange, or even better, an OTC trader, because banks don't like fiat transactions from exchanges. You can also use futures, basically a long future position, and selling Bitcoin on spot is a collateralized loan. It's the same thing, not tax-wise, otherwise it's the same thing. There's a new protocol which is called Firefish, which I advise, and then you do Bitcoin without dropping and without any other chains. So it's Bitcoin blockchain. A very good strategy is you are dollar cost averaging, or always filling the capital fund or financial reserves fund, and you're never spending. You're only using it as a collateral, that you don't pay taxes, and also as a bond, you're shorting fiat, which is always a good idea. Another thing you can do in business is international business-to-business transfers. They're getting worse, so many people don't understand how bad the banking system actually is, but because usually they want to do a SEPA transfer and it's free and it just works. But try sending money. For example, I have started Liberation Travel, which is a travel agency which is moving people to Paraguay and Panama. So try sending money from Europe to Panama like twice a week, and you will realize that banks will not be happy and this will not work actually. They will start calling you and then they will close your account. But with crypto payments, you can do it. I say crypto because this is a very good use case for something else than Bitcoin. I will explain that, but if the transfer is legal and you can explain it to your accountant and tax collector if you're audited, you don't need to waste your time with the bank as well. So you are doing legal business, you are paying an invoice. Why explain it to some compliance clerk at the bank? Doesn't make sense. So this is just much easier, much faster. So basically what you do is you buy Bitcoin, or in this case Monero. You pay the invoice with the Bitcoin, possibly exchange back for fiat on the other side if you need that. It's fast, secure, no questions asked, it's legal, and time is money. So if a bank is calling you and you need to send a contract, an invoice, and a worksheet, and all this bullshit, and it takes 2 weeks, that's 2 weeks less of doing business and dealing with bureaucracy. Why I use Monero in this case? If I use Bitcoin as a reserve fund, if I would use Bitcoin to pay for it, that's a taxable event. So if you have 2 different cryptocurrencies with different prices, what you do is you just accumulate it, and then if you pay the invoice with Monero, which you buy and spend it all at the same time, because within the day there is no price movement from the accounting perspective, you never incur a taxable event, that you will never have a taxable income. So you basically what you do is hire 1,000, so I send 1,000 euros to the exchange. With 1,000 euros, I send it to the supplier. I end up with 0 Monero. So there was no difference in price, no taxable income from the movement of the price of the Bitcoin. So you have this super short billing interval, and you can still accumulate Bitcoin and not pay taxes. I have one more, but I'm over time. I'll just skip this one. Let's give to another speaker. If you want to learn more, I write use this in business and in life for 10 years. In my books, it's in Spanish as well, and there's the course as well. Of course, I'm happy to discuss it in detail today, so please find me. I'm happy to share my experience. Thank you.